Hi, this is Joel Rosenhead, the Torah and Psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post of Behaaloscha is titled "When It's Healthy to Give Up." Because certainly in culture and in society, there's a certain agenda, perhaps you could say, and a certain message that is which is given across, that a person should never give up, that they should push themselves to achieve their goals, and they should always try harder and harder, and then they will succeed. And certainly this is true to a certain extent, that there's a positive aspect, and psychology stresses this within the research in the idea of grit and determination and perseverance in order to achieve your goals and to push yourself further to achieve your goals and be successful. And there is a place for that, but on the other hand, we can say that it is also healthy to give up sometimes. There is a negative connotation to giving up. People view it in a sense as being a failure, and that if you give up, that means that you have not been successful, and that there's this internalization of this sense of failure. And what I want to look at is how giving up sometimes is a healthy thing. Because in this week's parasha, we read about how the Leviim started their working in the service at the age of 30. But the pasuk writes that they began at 25, a period of training. From 25 to 30, there was a 5-year training period. And Rashi comments on this and says that if a person does not see success in something, that they try and they're going through a process of trying to achieve something, and if within 5 years, after 5 years, they don't see that they're successful, then you should stop. And the message that Rashi is giving across is that there is a time when a person does need to say, I give up. The Leviim had this 5-year training period, and then they were ready to serve as Leviim. And we could take on this message and try to understand this 5-year window, this training period, this period that a person tries, and they are tapping into this idea of perseverance and determination, and they're trying to be successful. But sometimes, as the message that we're being told here, sometimes we need to say, no, this is not for me. I can see that I'm not actually being successful, and I should give up. Now, how do we detach ourselves from the negative connotation? How do we ensure that we don't internalize this negative message of failure? So it depends how we look at this idea, this message of giving up. Because we can actually use cognitive reframing to look at it as something which is positive. In fact, it's a learning experience. Then when we give up, when we reach this point and we can take ownership over the situation, and rather than just blindly trying to put in more and more effort without any product, we say, no, it's time to give up. And that is actually a strength rather than a weakness. And when we stop and we say, okay, I'm stopping now, I'm not going to try any further, and I'm going to move on and look for new opportunities, we're viewing this as a step to the next stage of our development. Giving up does not mean you're a failure and now that you're stuck and that you haven't achieved something. It's just, this is a juncture, a station that a person is temporarily stopping at to take stock and to look at their situation and to work out and assess how they can now move on. So this is a strength, not a weakness. It's a learning experience. It's an opportunity for growth and further development. But what's interesting as well, when we look at all these positive aspects and we understand how it's actually a strength rather than a weakness, it gives us this message that giving up does have positive connotations as well, and it's something which we need to develop. It's not easy. We're working against, as we said, this sort of positive psychology, determination and grit, which is so appealing, and also the message that we are given in society that we should never give up. But we can also look at what Rashi is saying, that this was a 5-year period of training, of going through a process of putting in effort. And sometimes this idea of giving up is seen as a failure because we are expecting immediate results. We are expecting success in the here and now, right now. And if we don't see it, we feel that we are a failure, and we don't have the patience to continue and to try to put in more effort and to see how things will develop. And what we see from Rashi is saying this is 5 years. 5 years is quite a long time. So although Rashi is giving over this message that there is a point where we need to stop and say, okay, now is the time to give up, but we also need to be patient. We also need to give ourselves that time to not be so focused and expecting the immediate results in the here and now, but to give us this window of opportunity to see if there can be growth and to see if we can actually achieve our goals. To give ourselves that time and that patience to see how things develop. And then we can work out if we are able to achieve our goals and it's worth putting in the grit and the determination and the perseverance, or to bring out this strength to say, now is the time to give up. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.